My Lords, I beg to move motion C that this House does not insist on its Amendment 41B. My Lords, to recap, Amendment 41B seeks to lift the no recourse to public funds condition for migrant victims of domestic abuse until the conclusion of the Support for Migrant Victims scheme. The amendment also provides that within 2 months of the scheme's conclusion, the Secretary of State must consult the Domestic Abuse Commissioner and specialist sector and publish a strategy for the long-term provision for victims who do not have leave or have leave subject to the no recourse to public funds condition. My Lords, I am conscious that after 2 full debates at committee and report stages, along with our consideration last week of the Commons reasons, we are all likely to be well versed with the points that I have highlighted and those that I will be now, and those which proponents of Amendment 41B will outline. So for that reason, I will try and make my points relatively short. The Noble Lord, the Noble Lady, the Right Reverend Prelate, the Bishop of Gloucester, knows how much I respect her, and I share her commitment to providing protection and support for migrant victims of domestic abuse. But I still do not believe that the amendment before us, Amendment 41B, represents the appropriate course of action. My Lords, the other place likewise disagreed with this amendment, again on the basis of financial privilege. In waiving the no recourse to public funds condition for 12 months, double the 6 months provided for in the earlier Amendment 41, which sought an extension to the DDVC. Clearly, this would involve a significant charge on the public purse. As I've emphasised previously, there is a clear precedent for our current position regarding the no recourse to public funds condition. Successive governments have taken the view that access to publicly funded benefits and services should normally reflect the strength of a migrant's connection to the UK, and we do continue to believe that such access should only become available to migrants once they have settled here. There is a clear rationale for this policy, namely that it seeks to assure the public of the benefits of controlled immigration can yield for our country. It ensures that public funds remain protected for permanent residents and manages the UK's finite resources. Automatically waiving the no recourse to public funds condition, irrespective of the diverse financial circumstances of victims, wouldn't seem to be a desirable or necessary outcome. Moving beyond the precedent for our position, this amendment presents other significant difficulties. Leave and access to public funds can't be separated as easily as Amendment 41B suggests. As I believe that I highlighted last week, to provide the access to public funds, one must also necessarily confer leave. And that is why we've launched the Support for Migrant Victims scheme, because it can provide a support for migrant victims of domestic abuse with no recourse to public funds by funding the required support directly from Southall Black Sisters and their delivery partners, and in doing so bypassing the need to access public funds. To reiterate, my Lords, the Support for Migrant Victims scheme will provide support to this vulnerable cohort. As I've highlighted many times during the passage of this bill, the Support for Migrant Victims scheme is designed to provide support to those individuals who fall through the gaps of other support mechanisms, such as the DDVC. It provides that safety net of support through provision of accommodation in a refuge or indeed other relevant safe accommodation. Additionally, the scheme can provide wraparound provisions, including practical support, such as immigration advice. The support provided by the scheme can be tailored to the needs of the individual victim, much more than a blanket automatic granting of public funds. So, my Lords, may I end by thanking the Right Reverend Prelate, the Bishop of Gloucester, for her continued commitment to the cause of migrant victims of domestic abuse. I would stress that it truly is a cause that I share, but it's clear that while we seek a similar outcome, we've got different ways of getting there. I hope that Noble Lords will be mindful of the votes in the elected House, along with the reasons given for disagreeing with this amendment, and be content to agree motion C. My Lords, we now need to ensure that the bill is enacted and implemented, and I can assure Noble Lords that this government has not, will not forget about migrant victims of domestic abuse, and I have no doubt that the Right Reverend Prelate will rightly continue to press us to act on the outcome of the Support for Migrant Victims scheme in the months to come. I beg to move.
Question is that motion C be agreed to. Lord Rosser.
My Lords, the Right Reverend Prelate, the Lord Bishop of Gloucester, who moved the successful amendment on migrant women and recourse to public funds during the first stage of ping-pong in this House on the Domestic Abuse Bill last Wednesday, regrets that she cannot be here in person today. And I would like to pay tribute to the work that the Right Reverend Prelate has done and will, I'm sure, continue to do on this issue. And on behalf of the Right Reverend Prelate, the Lord Bishop of Gloucester, I've been asked to say the following, which also reflects my feelings. I would urge the government to consider all victims of domestic abuse as victims first. It is therefore regrettable that recourse to public funds has not been made available to a small but extremely vulnerable group of migrant victims. That said, at this stage, we accept that it has not been possible to add this to the bill. We hope that when the pilot scheme comes to an end, careful note will be taken of the results. The organisations providing support and hope to these migrant victims must be consulted, and we would do well to listen well to their experience.